Diddy is slowly losing all credibility after the leaked surveillance footage of him attacking Cassie has been making rounds all over the interwebs. While Diddy has been getting away with a lot of things, including Cassie's lawsuit back in 2023 when he used his money and influence to shut her up, it's looking like the public sees right through him now.
What scares me about that is that if there's other guys out there that's doing that or have done that, and that are forgiven now, I would say, what do we do with them? How does that work? You know, that's the only thing I'm kind of confused about, because if I'm like, I'm good, but I might run into a couple people and forgot that they might have been in that situation, haven't seen it, that's just unacceptable. I've never ever seen nothing like that in my life. Bare knuckles, like, you know what I'm saying? The homie need a public whipping.
Yeah.
It's the only way it's gonna be right, with a public whipping.
Convening a grand jury to
100 lashes. For the first half.
Is Puffy, the P. Diddy, is his life as we know it, is it over? Not he's gonna die or anything like that, but I'm saying, will he ever be what he once was?
1,000 lashes. And Cassie, we're talking about your situation, so with all due respect, I'm sorry for everything that you encountered. I've been around you. I've been around y'all. Knowing this, I know what I won't allow. Like, I'm not saying what's up to Puff like that ever again. It's not cool.
Tons
like
of
that.
artists have come out to support Cassie, talking about how they witnessed firsthand how Diddy treated her back in the day.
I don't like your face, Diddy. I don't like the way you look right now. I don't like it. I do not like it, Diddy. Why are you faking like this? And now that we go back and the way that you beat that woman, and now that you go back to all of the videos where you on stage shouting her out subliminally on some BS after you done broke up with her, after all of that, and now you going on saying you was in a dark time, I was in a dark time, I was in a dark time. Every time I turn around, you talking about you was in a dark time at that time. You was in a dark time in a dark space. During the 2022 BET Lifetime Achievement Award that Diddy got, he gave a little speech and he gives a little shout out to Cassie, but it was weird the way he gave that shout out to Cassie, because he basically said like, yo, thank you for sticking with me through the dark time. Cause like,
Now, even the apology Diddy released since then is being ridiculed for how insincere and weak it sounds. Considering the fact that he still has not been arrested by the police, former CIA officer Tracy Walder has gone on the record to say that the FBI probably knows exactly where Diddy is because they've been following him for a long time now.
The thing that's so full of shit about Diddy's apology to Cassie is that even after Diddy settled the lawsuit with her, he still put out a statement denying all the allegations, right? Like, you're like, oh, I'm sorry for this on this video. Like, are we going to talk about when you put out a whole statement about how lying on your character, like all these vicious lies to disparage you, meanwhile here you are in 4K doing this? So what are you talking about? Well, you so sorry, you working to be a better man. No, you're not working to be a better man, because just the other day, according to you, you were already a good man and everybody was lying on you and attacking your character. So what is this? What is this?
Walder has also said that she isn't surprised about the overwhelming evidence that's been stacking up against Diddy. In fact, she claims that there are tons of victims who might feel confident enough to come out with their own allegations.
Could authorities be following him now to make sure he doesn't flee?
Personally, again, this is just my hypothesis. I think they probably are. And I think also they were probably doing that even before the raids occurred. And I've said that before, which is probably why they moved when they moved. I think P. Diddy probably knows that they're following him right now. I have, no reason to believe that they're not, quite frankly, but I think it would be the prudent thing for them to be doing. Now, do I think they are following him in every way, shape, or form and have wiretaps and all of that? That I don't know. They would need to have warrants to do those. But I do think that someone is probably following him from law enforcement at this point, just to ensure that they have eyes on him.
Speaking of that, follow-up question from Athena Tucker on Facebook. Where is he and the plane? Well, it looks like he's in Miami based on the pictures that came out of him at this Topgolf. The plane, last I heard, it was in the Caribbean, but you tell me if you heard something else, Tracy.
So all I know about the plane, as you mentioned, was that the last time it was in the Caribbean, although it looks like its tail number has actually been scrubbed from FlightAware and some of those other apps that are really accurate, actually, quite frankly, in tracking flight data. That is something that you can do. So in my opinion, I think that that was purposely done. And that's why we don't know where the plane is right now. I think he on purpose made sure the tail number was no longer visible in those apps. That is something you can do. And the plane really could be anywhere at this point.
Considering all the evidence they found against Diddy from his freak-off parties, it's pretty safe to say that an arrest is definitely coming soon enough.
Well, unfortunately, I'm not surprised. I think Ms. Ventura was extremely heroic and brave in terms of coming forward with her claims. And now that this video is out, I would imagine that some of his alleged victims may feel more comfortable and more empowered in coming forward. So I unfortunately think that we may see more of these coming up.
Let's talk about Cassie Ventura more, because she is now responding to the video of her being violently assaulted by Diddy. She is saying that domestic violence, quote, broke me down to someone I never thought I would become. Of course, she's encouraging people to listen to the victims, believe the victims the first time. And her suit against Diddy has been settled. Could this video, could his admission mean anything for these other pending lawsuits now, or the federal investigation surrounding him?
I'm not sure how it will factor into the federal investigation, but I do think in some of these pending lawsuits, and I have said this all along, I do think that the release of this video will cause him to most likely settle those, because now we have a pattern of behavior on camera, and it is going to be very, very difficult for him to combat that any other narrative other than what's out there now. Now, in terms of the federal case, I believe really a statement from Ms. Allred actually last week on your show, when she talked about the idea that if there is a RICO charge that's brought in, and we could maybe look at some of this in terms of establishing a pattern of sex trafficking, then potentially that could be factored into the federal case, because for the most part, there's a 10-year statute of limitations on adult sex trafficking, but then there's even more so a longer statute of limitations with that RICO charge.
But then again, a lot of people seem to think that Diddy's got an invisible shield of protection around him, because despite multiple people coming out and blaming him for the murders of Tupac and Biggie, he's never ever been convicted.
Up all on the man and everything. I don't know what real man that don't even know this man like that. He just met Tank. But he acting like him and Tank grew up together and all that. Hug up all on the man and everything. I don't know what real...
And that's just one part of the puzzle. Now, Reggie Wright Jr., a former LAPD cop and Bad Boy Records ex-head of security, claims that Diddy and all his friends were known to abuse women and children at his freak-offs.
On all four of those occasions, there's San Diego, Anaheim, Irvine, and Vegas. Which ones do you actually talk to Puffy at?
Every one. It was really about both of them. Either one. It was
Tupac and Suge, you mean?
Yeah.
And what, Puffy makes kind of an announcement?
Yeah, that was stupid as hell too, you know.
What did you actually hear? What was the words, if the best you can remember? What he said?
You know? Yeah.
Will give you anything for these guys' head?
Yeah. He said it in front of all those people. I couldn't believe it. You know what I'm saying?
In Anaheim?
Yeah.
He was on point. He was worried about something happening.
Yeah.
She got mouthed off about a bunch of different stuff, so he was scared.
He was scared to death, yeah.
Okay. That specific, like, hey, I'm serious. I want you guys to get these guys. I mean,
when he told me at Greenback.
How's it go? How's the conversation go? I mean,
yeah, we were on the million.
You said you walked downstairs. Did he say, come meet me downstairs?
Yeah.
So in your opinion, the specific reason he asked you to come downstairs and talk to him was about
what happened?
Gentleman, he like, man, we'll wipe their ass out quick. You know, it's nothing.
Who brought up the amount of $1 million?
Shit, he did.
Puffy did?
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Shit.
So he brought up them $1 million?
Yeah. They went to eat. We was eating. Man, they came and said, he just beat up Lane. We was in the hotel. Yeah, it was right there. It's a perfect opportunity, baby.
That was Zip talking?
Yeah.
Because of what happened with Lane?
Yeah. But he told me in the lobby that he had some Jimmys.
Some what?
Had a Jimmy. And that Benz.
Popped up.
Pop up, yeah.
And right next to Diddy's name at the top of that list ain't nobody else but JayZ, who seems to be missing in action ever since his friend's home was raided.
Y'all listen to Biggie lyrics. Biggie been telling y'all how he been in his lyrics. And our girl Lil Kim talking about how they used to do the butterfly dance, how they used to get naked in front of each other and be dancing and shit. Birds of a feather flocks together, right? Ain't that the term my grandma used to use? And so, I've been telling y'all, so Suge know that they weird and weirdos, so he ain't gonna beat up on them too much. That's your float, that's what floats your boat, that's how it goes.
Yo, this ain't just hearsay neither. According to this LAPD cop, the cops have gotten their hands on legitimate proof that Diddy was involved in Tupac's murder.
But then everybody that I fucked with did. Everybody. All of them. No names mentioned yet. But that ain't the only one that Jay had when she was underage. Y'all remember Fox Brown and Jay? Ain't no woman like the one I got. No one could love you better.
In addition to that, the ex-police chief of the LAPD has actually tweeted about how Diddy is in cahoots with the FBI, planning on exposing all of his friends and their crimes just to keep himself safe. So JayZ better be counting his days as a free man, because they're going to be coming to an end. John Horston, a retired CIA agent, has also spoken up about the CIA's involvement in influencing gangster rap culture. According to him, the feds are working with big artists and record label owners like Diddy to throw young rappers in jail to keep them incarcerated.
I was what you may call a decision maker with one of the more established companies in the music industry. I came to Europe in the early 80s and quickly established myself in the business. The industry was different back then, since technology and media weren't accessible to people like that, like they are today. The industry had more control over the public and had the means to influence them any way it wanted.
Right.
This may explain why in early 1991, I was invited to attend a closed-door meeting with a small group of business insiders to discuss rap music's new direction. Rap music's new direction.
Yeah.
Little did I know we would be asked to participate in one of the most unethical and destructive business practices ever seen.
Crazy.
So this was the meeting. The meeting was held at a private residence on the outskirts of Los Angeles. I remember about 25 to 30 people were being there. Right. Most of them familiar faces. Speaking of those I knew, we joked about the theme of the meeting, as many of us did not care for rap and failed to see the purpose of being invited to a private meeting to discuss the future of hip-hop.
Talk to him.
Among the attendees was a small group of unfamiliar faces who stayed to themselves and made no attempt to socialize beyond their circle. Based on their behavior and formal appearances, they didn't seem to be from our industry. Our casual chatter was interrupted when we were asked to sign the confidentiality agreement, preventing us from publicly discussing the information presented during the meeting. Needless to say, this intrigued, in some cases, disturbed many of us. The agreement was only a page long, but very clear on matters and consequences, which stated that violating the terms would result in job termination immediately. We asked several people what this meeting was about and the reason for such secrecy, but could not find anyone who had the answers for us. A few people refused to sign and walked out. Nobody stopped them. I was tempted to follow, but curiosity got the best of me.
That's right.
A man who was part of the unfamiliar group collected all the agreements from us.
So, American rapper Crazy Bone read out a letter from John Horston, talking about how the former agent snitched on his own teammates, meeting with rap moguls to force them into doing what they wanted them to do.
One of the industry colleagues, who shall remain nameless like everybody else, thanked us for attending. He then gave the floor to a man who only introduced himself by first name and gave no other details about his personal background. I think he was the owner of the residence, but that was never confirmed. He He briefly praised all of us for the success we had achieved in our industries and congratulated us for being selected as part of this small group of decision makers. At this point, I began to feel slightly uncomfortable and the strangeness of this gathering. The subject quickly changed as the speaker went on to tell us that the respective companies we represented had invested in a very profitable industry, which could become even more rewarding with our active involvement.
Damn.
He explained that the companies we worked for had invested millions into the building of privately owned prisons, and that our positions of influence in the music industry would actually impact the profit. Remember many of us in the group immediately looking at each other in awe and confusion. At the same time, I didn't know what a private prison was, but I wasn't the only one. Sure enough, someone asked what these prisons were and what any of this had to do with music. We were told that these prisons were built by privately owned companies who receive funding from the government based on the number of inmates.
Mm-hmm.
The more inmates, the more the government would pay these prisons.
Mm-hmm.
It was also made clear to us that since these prisons are privately owned, as they become publicly traded, we'd be able to buy shares. Most of us were taken back by this. Again, a couple of people asked what this had to do with us. At this point, my industry colleague who had first opened the meeting took the floor again and answered our questions. He told us that since our employees had become silent investors in this prison business, it was now in their interest to make sure that these prisons remain filled. Our job would be to help make this happen by making music which promote criminal behavior, rap being the music of choice. He assured us...
Turns out most of the record labels that you know and love have been working with the CIA to ensure 90% or higher prison capacity. And how are they doing that? By making sure rap culture stays embroiled in crime and violence.
Unfamiliar group grabbed the man who shouted and attempted to remove him from the house. A few of us, myself included, tried to intervene. One of them pulled out a gun, and we all backed off. They separated us from the crowd, and all four of us was escorted outside. My industry colleague, who opened up the meeting earlier, hurried out to meet us and reminded us that we had signed an agreement and would suffer the consequences of speaking out about this publicly, or even those who attended the meeting.
Damn.
I asked him, why was he involved with something so corrupt? And he replied, it's bigger than the music business and nothing we can do. No, it's bigger than the music business and nothing we want to challenge without risking consequences. We all protested as we walked back into the house. I remember word for word the last thing he said. It's out of my hands now. Just remember you signed an agreement. He then closed the door behind him. The men rushed us to our car and actually waited until we drove off the property.
Damn.
So,
according to this leak, the feds are downright blackmailing rap moguls like Diddy to comply with their demands.
Retired CIA agent John Homeston admitted this week that the CIA was behind the creation of gangster rap in the 80s in order to glamorize criminal behavior and fill private prisons. The US government spent vast sums of money on this covert operation, which was designed to create division and corrupt the American youth to nihilist and anti-American ideologies. According to the former agent, famous hip-hop lyrics of the legendary hip-hop outfit NWA were scripted by a team of psychologists and war propagandists inside the CIA. Fuck the police and other anti-establishment lyrics were intended to unleash a wave of cynicism towards authorities, promote the use of narcotics, and glamorize the gangster life in the minds of impressionable young people. The CIA worked in tandem with the music industry elites to create a funnel in which young people would be indoctrinated with brainwashing gangster rap music, introduced to a life of crime, and then delivered to the highly profitable private prison system. In order to create this funnel, the CIA introduced music industry owners to the private prison industry. Once the funnel was in place, the system was a lock.
When why all consider just how many careers have been ruined because of Diddy, it does kind of seem to add up, right? 1 + 1 is 2, and Diddy be guilty as hell.
Well, girl, you the one that's hot fire. If you wasn't my man's mom, I'd tear that ass up.
Thank you. You must be really proud of your son.
Oh, yes, indeed. He's a roughneck that gets his thug on, and he looks like a young Denzel.